Hi. I want to talk to you about vaginas. Hey y'all, I'm Maren and I'm a science communicator, but I'm also training to be a microbiologist. I talk about all kinds of fun science things, especially microbe stuff, over on my Instagram. And I recently did a whole series about your genitals. And you guys went wild with curiosity. And it just became super clear to me that this is an incredibly important topic that we need to keep talking about. So I wanted to put together this video as a fun primer that you can share with anyone who might need it, or that you can come back to anytime. And seriously, do not feel bad if you didn't know these things. I had to teach them to myself, and I mean, NASA sent Sally Ride on a 7-day space mission with 100 tampons and asked her, will that be enough? For 7 days! So clearly, as a society, we have a lot of learning to do about vaginas and everything they do. Let's get started. Veg fact number 1, and my favorite, is that your vagina is teeming with life. It is home to billions of individual bacteria, fungi, and viruses, and that's when it's totally healthy. We call this your vaginal flora or vaginal microbiome, and it's hugely important for keeping you and your vagina healthy. And a lot of the bacteria that live in your vagina are called lactic acid bacteria. These and some other species of bacteria that live in there produce acid as part of their day-to-day life, meaning that your vaginal pH is actually on the acidic end of the spectrum. That acidity helps keep bad stuff out that might cause infection. It's part of your defense mechanism. And it also means that your vaginal discharge might bleach your underwear, just like lemon juice does when you put it in your hair. This is totally normal, and it means your vagina is healthy. And over time, this acidity can even burn holes in thin materials like cottons that underwear is made out of, and this is totally normal too. Having a healthy and balanced vaginal microbiome can protect you against infections or imbalances like bacterial vaginosis and yeast infections. And your healthy microbiome can even make it less likely that you'll contract some sexually transmitted infections. Although if this is something you're concerned about, you should always be using a barrier method of protection like a condom or a dental dam. Think of your microbiome kind of like a little army. The more of the good bacteria and other microbes there are, the harder it is for the bad guys to invade and take hold. And let's talk some more about discharge, because this is totally normal too. Unless you're dealing with a persistent, unpleasant smell, a color that's not normal for you, itching, burning, swelling, physical discomfort of any kind, then your discharge is totally natural and normal. And it's also normal for it to change in consistency, smell, color, and amount throughout your menstrual cycle. And speaking of smell, all kinds of smells are normal. Vaginas aren't supposed to smell like perfume or flowers or fresh summer rain, whatever the title on the bottle in the grocery store is. Again, because they are vaginas. And because they're their own diverse, complex, amazing ecosystem of millions of little organisms, all living their own little lives down there. A smell is only problematic if it bothers you, and especially if it's accompanied by any kind of physical discomfort. So staying in tune with your body is really important, because only you will know what's normal for you. So you'll know when it's different. Now, your vaginal discharge is partially cell turnover, so cells living and dying and replicating and shedding off, and partially it's products from your microbiome, like the stuff that they eat and excrete, but it's also in large part your cervical mucus. This might sound kind of gross, but it's so cool because it's fluid produced by your cervix. That's where your vagina meets your uterus. And your cervical mucus changes in consistency as your cervix changes in shape, position, and length in response to fluctuating hormone levels throughout your menstrual cycle. It's so cool, it's like a little shapeshifter down there. And all of this is to say that your vagina is a self-cleaning organ. It's constantly flushing itself out and recalibrating its pH to help keep bad microbes from taking over. It's like a terrarium, kind of. And so there's never any reason to wash out your vagina, even with just plain water. In fact, washing it out, especially with any kind of soap or douching product, may make whatever problem you're trying to fix even worse. And that means that the feminine wash industry, the douches, yeah, it's a total and absolute scam. You don't need to wash out your vagina. Now, your vagina is different from your vulva because your vulva is everything on the outside, the stuff you can see. Your vagina is on the inside of you. You can wash your vulva, but you only need to use warm water. And anything you're using to wash near your vagina and your vulva, whether that's your groin, your butt, your perineum, any products that you're using near there should be as mild, unscented, and pH neutral as possible. This one is very important, and it's that not all women have vaginas, and not all people with vaginas are women. That's why I'm never gonna call this topic women's health, because if you have a vagina, this information is for you. End of story. Now, you may have noticed if you've taken antibiotics for any infection, they may have given you a little bit of an upset stomach, maybe made you feel nauseous or given you diarrhea, and that's because that antibiotic is killing off bacteria to get rid of your infection, but it's also disturbing all the good bacteria that live in your gut. But antibiotics can also disturb your vaginal flora. Some antibiotics can actually make it more likely that you'll get a yeast infection. And this is because yeast live naturally as a healthy part of your vagina, but the antibiotic lessens the amount of bacteria in there, meaning that the yeast, which is a fungus and therefore not killed by the antibiotic, can go, this is my moment. I will now take over the entire vagina. Thank you. This one is a personal pet peeve of mine. Please don't try to treat vaginal imbalances at home with kitchen items. You may have seen some things online about using tea tree oil or vinegar or yogurt or garlic cloves and putting them in or on or around your genitals. And this is just generally not a good idea. Some of those chemical compounds, especially the ones in tea tree oil and in garlic or in some kinds of vinegars, can be really caustic and cause damage to those tissues. And even if something is supposed to be probiotic, has good bacteria in it, like a yogurt, they're not necessarily going to be the kinds of microbes that live in your vagina and are supposed to be there. So don't do it. Also, lots of things can change your vagina's pH, altering your microbiome. Your partner's ejaculate, different kinds of lube, different kinds of birth control can all either change your microbiome directly or change the pH of that environment, therefore changing which bacteria and other microbes can live there. That's why paying attention is so important, because your body is nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about, and the better you can get to know it, the more you can optimize your health and well-being. And on that note, talking about vaginas doesn't just have to be about the science, even though it's really cool. They're also there for us to enjoy, and we don't need to feel ashamed or apologetic about that. So I'm gonna let my pal Eva, who's an expert in this stuff, take it away for a few fun facts.
Thank you so much, Maren, for having me. My name is Eva Bloom. I'm a queer sexuality educator and sex science communicator, and I'm so stoked to be talking to y'all about some vagina facts. One fact is that most people with vulvas don't actually orgasm from vaginal penetration. Only about 4% of people with vulvas do. Another 43% orgasm from vaginal and clitoral stimulation together, and 34% orgasm from clitoral stimulation, and 19% of people with vulvas aren't having orgasms with partners consistently. So if you are not having orgasm just from vaginal penetration, you are in the vast majority. Speaking of the clitoris, the distinction between clitoral orgasms and vaginal orgasms are actually a little bit more nebulous than we might have originally thought. You might have heard of the G-spot, which is a collection of spongy tissue inside the vagina about 1 inch up towards the upper wall of the vagina. So if you do a little come hither motion like that, and this is the belly here, then you might be able to stimulate it. While it's super cool that we have this language, the G-spot, which is kind of universally understood what that means, the G-spot might actually be a part of the clitoris. So the clitoris is not just the one little nub that you see, it actually has legs that extend into the body and wrap around the vaginal canal. So when you're stimulating the G-spot, you might actually be stimulating those legs of the clitoris, and you might actually might be more like an internal clitoral orgasm, but there's more research to be done. Another fact is that there are more ways to orgasm than just clitoral stimulation and G-spot, or clitoral internal vaginal stimulation. Some people can actually have orgasms via cervical stimulation. If you have ever had a pap smear, the idea of a cervical orgasm might have you going like, what? No! But it's true. For some folks, deep penetration, stimulation of the cervix can lead to orgasm, and that's pretty cool. Another fact is that orgasms can actually happen during birth/labor. So the hormone that is released during contractions during labor is oxytocin, and that is actually the same hormone that gets released during orgasms. So some sex-positive midwives, doulas, or doctors might actually recommend the people that they are help facilitating giving birth to go and have some orgasms to help with a more efficient labor and to get things moving if the person who is giving birth has been in their early stage of labor for a long time and they're ready to smooth things up. They're like, go grab a vibrator, have some fun times, then we can get this baby on the road. Another vagina fact is that squirting is real. People with vaginas can produce fluid to varying degrees during sexual expression and or orgasm. Is it pee? It is a mixture of uric acid, urea, and creatine, so essentially it is a watered down pee and ejaculate, but that doesn't make it any more gross than any other bodily fluid that is involved in your sexy times. Another vagina fact for you, for folks who are on testosterone, the vaginal walls actually get thinner. So that means that using lube is super duper important to help prevent tears and make the experience more pleasurable. Liquid Sassy is a great water-based option and can last a really long time. One last vag fact for you. All vaginas and vulvas are unique and different. They're as different as snowflakes. There really is no normal. If you want to be inspired by some beautiful vulvas or vaginas, check out the Vulva Gallery on Instagram and be reminded that you're a part of a really cool vulva-having community. Thanks for having me, Maren. Check out my channel for more.
I really hope learning more about this was as fun for you as it was for me. And I'm actually hoping to do my master's thesis research project on the vaginal microbiome and its potential role in disease or even pregnancy outcomes. And that's coming along in a few months, so rest assured, I will be talking lots more about this. If you have questions about any of these things, please leave them for me down in the comments below. I'd love to answer them, and make sure you follow me on Instagram because I'll be answering questions over there as well. A huge thank you again to Eva. Make sure you check them out everywhere on the internet. I'll leave all of the links to that down in the description box. And Eva and I made a video on their channel as well, so make sure you go and check that out. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.